from Atlanta Motor Speedway, one of the fastest places on earth. It's a cool, clear, and windy day in the Deep South for the fifth race of the season, 400-mile event with speeds of up to 185 miles per hour. You're part of Race Day, the pre-race show on Fox, presented by Coca-Cola Zero Sugar. We're about 25 miles from downtown Atlanta at the racetrack. 3 overtime finishes so far this season as we welcome you to the track where the action is over the next hour to count you down to the start of the race. Tony Stewart, Clint Boyer, I'm Chris Myers. Thanks for tuning in with us and discussing a race that we look forward to for a number of reasons, because it's a drafting track. Yeah, it's a mile and a half, but it runs a lot like Talladega or Daytona, maybe even more challenging.
You hit the nail on the head, Chris. We all watched the wild Daytona 500 finish, all the crazy action down there. This is only better. It's exactly that, everything you know about a super speedway, but it's only on the tight confines of a mile and a half track. Whoa, Tony. And beating and banging is the name of the game.
This is definitely more intense. I mean, handling's always a factor here, and the track's narrow. It's not as wide as Daytona and Talladega are, so for these guys to sit there and pull a 3-wide move, they got to have a lot of confidence in their car and the handling to pull that off.
Yeah, Chevys have won the first 4 races this year, but Ford's line up in the top 8 spots today. Could this be their day?
I absolutely believe so. They showed a lot of strength in qualifying. I know I talked to our drivers. They felt good about the handling of their cars, even though they were that fast in qualifying. So it answers the question of did they set up and show up at the track for speed for qualifying, or are they set up for the race? So I think Ford has a great shot today.
I'm going to tell you this. If I'm Doug Yates and company on the engine department that took 8 out of the top 10 spots in qualifying, they better be their day.
All right, well, it's been a tumultuous week for NASCAR, Hendrick Chevrolet, Denny Hamlin. We can go on and on. We'll recap in case you missed it to bring you up to date and then discuss with all involved, or at least some of those. It was a week of penalties, appeals, and a lot more.
Hendrick drivers and crew chiefs hope to avoid significant penalties as NASCAR confiscate all 4 teams' louvers following practice on Friday, as well as those of Justin Haley on Saturday. NASCAR told teams not to modify them and will determine whether Hendrick did.
Denny discussed his most recent run-in on his weekly podcast.
I'm about to get passed by everybody behind me, and I said, you're coming with me, buddy.
Really?
Honesty is the best policy, boys and girls, except maybe when NASCAR's listening.
I suspect they're going to do something.
Denny Hamlin fined $50,000 and docked 25 driver points for making intentional contact with Ross Chastain.
We would have viewed that as a racing incident, but then you start admitting you have intentionally done something, put us in a position that we had no choice.
NASCAR also penalized each of Hendrick Motorsports' 4 Cup teams and the number 31 for unapproved parts modification. All crew chiefs were suspended for 4 races, fined $100,000, docked 100 points, and 10 playoff points.
With the exception of the 9 team, since they have a substitute driver.
We will continue to do what we need to do to keep this car in check.
Hendrick Motorsports released this statement. We are disappointed with today's decision by NASCAR and have elected to appeal.
They did not race this. They did not even qualify with this. And this is probably what Hendrick is hanging their hat on.
It's a terrible situation, not only for us, but the industry. And it's really unfortunate that we are, because it doesn't help anybody.
At first, Denny said he was not going to appeal, but now he is going to appeal.
It's been a crazy week, but now we'll just have to wait and see what happens.
Vice Chairman of Hendrick Motorsports, Jeff Gordon, is joining us here. Rick Hendrick, by the way, planned on being here. This is important for him. He has a bit of a cold, could not travel, echoed some thoughts, but we'll let you represent in terms of the appeal process. We understand it's going to happen this week. And what do you hope to accomplish other than rescinding fines? What's the point you want to make your first line of defense in this appeal?
Yeah, first, Chris, I think, we just look at how this was handled. I think it could have been handled in so many different ways from NASCAR. Hendrick Motorsports prides ourselves in the precision, the detail in which we go about building our race cars. It's part of why we've been so successful over the years. But we also do it with integrity and respect for the rules and how NASCAR governs those. And so for us, it just feels like it wasn't done in that way. We feel like if our integrity, is going to be questioned, we're going to push back and we're going to, appeal this for that reason. And I think there's also one thing I want to say is there's this, kind of narrative up and down pit road that these single source parts that you're not allowed to touch them. NASCAR said you're not allowed to touch them, modify them. I guarantee you, up and down this grid right here, there's not a single car that hasn't in some way touched or modified or done something to one of those single source because the product that we're getting delivered to us, one, the quality is not up to the standard. The parts that we're talking about are not up to the quality. So NASCAR allows teams to do it just for fit, but there's also the detail in which that part was designed and approved by NASCAR, and making sure that it fits within that box on top of those other things just for the fit.
Was there an earlier warning, or that's what the problem is? You're being punished for something that you
well, this is why I feel like it could have been handled in a different way, is because this was found 30 minutes before practice on a day that this is a rule that got changed right on the cars at the very last minute. It was one of those things that when the season started, we found out there was going to be this rule change aerodynamically at Phoenix. So a lot of communication was going back and forth, what you could, what you couldn't do, create a lot of confusion. And so when we get to the racetrack, it's not even a mandatory inspection day, and NASCAR noticed it, didn't say anything to the team till after that practice session, which was not any competitions practice. And then we went took it off and found out about it after the practice when NASCAR came to us for the first time.
To me, I think that's the most interesting thing. Obviously, a lot of layers about this conversation. You hear a lot of people in the garage area talking about this and this problem. Only one of them, obviously, is in an appeal situation with a massive fine and points penalty. But for me, in my own opinion, I think that's the catch here. The 6 car is the only other one that ever had this penalty put in place, and it was right here at Atlanta. It was after the race, folks. This is a situation that was never competed in. It was only practiced with, never under any kind of competition was this part. So for me, I'm interested to see what this appeal is going to do on that, standalone.
Well, that, like you said, I mean, there's multiple layers to this. There's more than just the part itself. It's the process during that day, and the officials saw the parts before you took them off. Like you said, you never qualified, you never ran the race. I really don't understand NASCAR's logic on why the penalty is so severe for something that didn't compete.
Yeah, and we actually saw a similar situation last year with some wheels, where a design was put in place and a modification happened, and yet, there was no penalty whatsoever, even though teams were told not to modify that part. So, but that car was never raced either, prior to the race.
Before we let you go, we got to get back and get to the folks in the studio. Want to comment real quick the impact on the race today with an entirely new set of crew chiefs for your drivers?
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those particular races where maybe it's a little bit easier to call because of the type of racing that we're going to see here today. But our crew chiefs, have done a great. We have a lot of depth at Hendrick Motorsports. We're very fortunate of that. So I feel like we're in good shape. We were on we got a lot of positives. There's been a lot of discussions and planning to get here today, and I feel like we're going to be in good shape. But it's never the same without those 4 crew chiefs on the box, making those calls.
Thanks for coming by and addressing. Good luck today. Let's head to the Charlotte studio. Larry McReynolds, Jamie McMurray get their thoughts, and Shannon Spake. Shannon?
Yeah, thanks so much, Chris. Always good to hear from Jeff Gordon, Larry. And what I heard him say was these modifications were not necessarily made for advantage on the racetrack, but more out of necessity because of quality or fit.
Yeah, and if the louver doesn't fit, it's not like they've got 10 of them on the shelf. There's a little bit of a lack of supply of these louvers right now. All 3 manufacturers had front-end changes, the nose, the hood, which included the hood louvers. And when they did a parity test the end of last year in the wind tunnel to make sure everybody was together, there were some changes being made with those louvers right there. And I've even been told the drawing that the teams have, that NASCAR has, that the louvers being distributed right now, they do not even match those drawings. But the real head scratcher to me is the 31 car, Colleague Racing, Justin Haley. They only took 1 louver. So this tells me these things were modified to be able to fit the race car.
Yeah, and the word that Jeff Gordon said there that stuck out to me was integrity.
Yeah.
And listen, we all know teams push the limits, but it just sounds like this was a change to the car to make it fit their hood. I don't think they've really done anything wrong here, and I'm with Larry. We've talked about this. I think you're going to see part of this, if not most of this, overturned when they go to the appeal.
They got the same penalty that 3 cars got last year in post-race, and they never competed.
It doesn't add up.
Yeah, and that's what Tony mentioned, right? These didn't even compete. All right, big weekend for the Fords. They're going to start 1, 2, 3. The field will follow them to green. Here is what we're following as we get you set for 400 miles in Atlanta.
Race day is rolling right along here in Atlanta. And do we have a show for you? It's not always peachy out here on the track. Denny Hamlin joins us after the break to break down last week's run-in with Ross Chastain. Then, we'll take a walk down memory lane as we revisit Alan Kulwicki's 1992 quest for the championship in the greatest race. Afterwards, we get to know a group of fans finding friendship and community through the sport of NASCAR. And later, we're in for some fun with our lovable and unpredictable Michael Waltrip on the grid walk. Don't go anywhere. This is Race Day on Fox.
What are tough, hard-working, and persistent? No chance. Those Mahindra tractors. That's what do you say we have a little race? Fire them up, boys! Trevor, are you ready? Trevor, are you ready? Let's go! Oh, flexing on you over here. I thought they were going to hit. You better go, Tony! The winner! Oh, Tony still got it. Who can remove the egg off the top of the cone without knocking the cone over?
Yeah, we're gonna go this way.
He's gonna knock it off behind it. You only get one chance. My gosh, Chase, there's a time limit.
He wins.
That wasn't even close. I have an egg. I'm gonna put it in the cone. You have to get to the finish line without breaking the egg. Don't worry, Chase. His is already cracked. You better go, Chase. You better go. Oh my gosh. How are we ever gonna live with this champion? Look what you've done.
I know. He signs my paycheck, so I figured better off just let up a little bit there at the end.
Let's go. Setup, thought we were going to be a little too tight maybe, but, thing was really freed up nice and rolled the corner.
Smooth ride, those Mahindras.
Powerful, they're strong, they're tough.
And my man knows how to run one, too. I'm telling you.
Chase Briscoe hopes to be as smooth today. 400 miles, speeds of up to 185 miles per hour. As we continue live from Atlanta Motor Speedway, time to check on the Coca-Cola Racing family of drivers. Joey Logano is sitting on the pole, trying to get his first Atlanta win. Austin Dillon, Daniel Suarez, Denny Hamlin starting 14th. And we welcome him as we are on the grid here at the track, infield behind us with Tony and Clint. Nice to have Denny Hamlin with us. Been an eventful week, by the way. How you doing? You all right?
Doing good. Ready for the race today.
All right. Of course, a couple of things to cover before we get to that. Denny, first, the idea to change not appealing and then wanting to appeal your fine for comments made about Ross Chastain, which you had since cleared up between the two of you in the last race.
Yeah, certainly. I think that this has been a rivalry for the last year, and two drivers that hadn't cut each other much breaks over the last year, and two drivers that also worked it out on Sunday, and unfortunately, we're keeping this going.
So you're appealing because you made a comment on a podcast afterwards, a little bit more about payback, that you were honest about it, and then NASCAR, which they said, well, if he didn't say anything, I'm paraphrasing, we'd kind of let him go, and now we got to fine him. So is that your argument here, that there should be at least a time limit on something like this because that's part of racing, as they've admitted?
Well, it's interesting. You can draw a lot of different ways to make it sound like another sport or not, but essentially it's like saying during a football event that there's no pass interference, and then a day later the cornerback's like, yeah, I held him there, and then they say, all right, well, let's change it and fix it. So, again, these are two drivers that worked it out on Sunday, and certainly I think when all the facts are out there and we look at all the evidence, I believe I've got a very strong case.
Well, obviously you thought there was a grace period there, just like you said, the game's over, right? So it was okay, acceptable to go ahead and talk about what happened on Monday's podcast. That one bit you. Is there, with you and Dale Jr., I would think when you come up with a podcast called Actions Detrimental, is there just a pot to pay fines? Like you go in this knowing it's going to happen. What did you start with? What was the pot?
Well, I don't know. I think that they were very strategic in picking me for this. I mean, I think there's probably a couple guys here that have had a few fines as well. This one right here for sure. But yeah, I've paid my fair share of fines for that exact action is detrimental. Different outcomes. But my podcast is hopefully somewhere that people can come for a resource of finding out what happens on Sunday. What did they not see? Give them an insider's perspective of what they did or did not see. And, we're going to continue to do that and try to reach fans, new and old fans.
What changed your mind, though? Through this, you got the penalty, right? Boom, the whammy. What changed your mind through the course of the week? You first said, I'm not going to appeal it. Come back a couple days later, so I'm going after it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to get into my defense here because it gives the prosecution time to plan for it. But I think that I have a very legitimate case in this. Obviously, one of them being the word intent was taken out of the rule book. So what does it matter what I say?
That's right.
And there's a team responsibility, right, with points and things like that are bigger than just you talking on a podcast.
Yeah, I mean, listen, these 25 points, the money is whatever, right? But the points itself is something that ain't going to matter until it does, and we won't know till 20-some weeks from now. But words coming out of your mouth equaling a points fine, I don't quite understand that.
Right. Well, it's just too much handcuffing everybody of what can you say, what can't you say. When you guys left the track, it was over. If they had something to say about it, they should have said it Sunday. Whatever you say on Monday, I feel like is your opinion. It's your voice. You have the platform. You're able to do what you want to do. That's my opinion.
Yeah, coming from a guy who knows how to pay back people within the structure
and
of the driver.
And I've paid a lot more fines than him,
of
too.
the driver code. Hey, about today's race, we know how good you are at the Daytona 500, a drafting track here. You see things well. He says Clint is a little more challenging than those kind of tracks because of the narrowness and a number of factors. What do you think at 400 miles today?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be an interesting race for sure. I mean, the track should be gripped up technically because of the weather, but I think the track has lost a little grip. So is it about equal from what it was last year? Certainly we saw very close and tight racing last year. I would expect no different today. Certainly is going to be very exciting no matter what.
And you're usually calm racing. You're going to be wearing the heart monitor today, so you want to stay tuned during the race.
We'll see just how calm he is.
That's right.
What's going to cause that monitor to go up racing or during the week with your appeal?
My heart probably races more during the week than it does in racing. I've worked on my heart rate for a very long time, getting it down in the car. A lot of that comes down to driver comfort, breathing, things like that. And so you're probably going to see some pretty low numbers.
All right. Well, we thank you for your time and coming by.
Man.
Appreciate it. All right, good luck today. When we continue live here from Atlanta Motor Speedway and a race day on Fox. Some of the historic moments that have stood out at this track over the years, from Kevin Harvick's first win to something that many have called the greatest race with some of the greatest names involved. That's straight ahead if you stay with us, and I know you will.
So cool to celebrate NASCAR 75, look back on some of those moments. And I know, Larry, you were in the broadcast booth for that. You were down in the garage every single weekend. How did that win resonate with everyone in NASCAR?
Yeah, I mean, Shannon, we were still just roughly a month removed from losing our friend, the guy that moved the needle in NASCAR, Dale Earnhardt. And, I think there was a thought that we didn't want to be at the racetrack. But I think that right there, we knew Dale wanted us to move on. That was a sign that it's okay to move on. We're going to be okay as a sport. Obviously, that's what Richard Childress Racing needed. It's what the NASCAR community needed. I think it's what the sports world needed.
Yeah, I think every fan has that memorable moment for them that they always think about. And for me, this is one of those top 3 moments that I remember. And partly because I was running the Xfinity Series with Kevin the day before. And it wasn't the fact that he was just able to win a cup race. It was the fact of whose car he was in and that he beat Jeff Gordon to the start-finish line. It was just everything in one. And it's something that I'll never forget.
Yeah, seeing him hold the 3 out that window, I get chills every time. Kevin announced this week that he's going to be running that 29 car in the All-Star race, so something to look forward to. All right, there's been so many incredible racing moments at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. In fact, the 1992 season finale is what some call the greatest race. It had a trio of future Hall of Famers, one making his first start, one making his final, and one overcoming so much to become the champion.
There's the checkered flag for Allen. He's the champion for
When I think about the importance of his story, the big story was not what he did, but how he did it with his little crew, who to this day, we fondly refer to each other as Kowickiites.
His goal was to win everything, and he did, you know, but at the time when we were all being hired, we didn't realize that was going to happen.
He never gave up. I mean, he never gave up on himself. He never gave up on his team.
Allen was the business manager, the chief strategist, and the team engineer, all while driving that car at 200 miles an hour.
You've got Bill Elliott driving for Junior Johnson. Then you've got Davey Allison driving for Robert Yates Racing. But then I think you had the underdog, Alan Kowicki, a single team driver owner. But he goes to Atlanta as a player in this championship. You would get 5 points for leading a lap, and you would get 5 points for leading the most laps.
That 5-point bonus was the difference in who would be champion.
Watching the 7 and watching the 11 battle for this championship.
Those guys were passing each other 2 and 3 times on the same lap.
Well, he knew how far out he was. He knew how many points it was from first to second. He knew how many points it was for leading the most laps.
He was a driving computer.
flag is out.
So on that day, Kowicki led 103 laps.
Less than 1 lap to go.
But if you go back and to see that it was only one more lap for the 7 car.
Bill Elliott and Junior Johnson could have been sitting at the front table at the Waldorf instead of Mighty Mouse there.
I think that shows a lot of people that, hey, it can be done. You just got to put your nose to the grindstone and make it happen.
About 4 or 5 months later, on April the 1st, when we lost Alan Kowicki in that plane crash flying into Bristol, it became a little clearer to me maybe why we didn't win that championship, that was Alan's time. It's the only championship he would get to celebrate.
Because of the way this race turned out, the fan base, the fan base that followed it, you know, it was huge. So for us to be here, to be able to talk about it and continue to talk about Alan's legacy and talk about Alan in general is just a lot of fun, and it's heartbreaking. But you know, just glad to be here.
It's hard. It is hard. Like I say, there's certain things that you connected with. The man brought out the best in you, and that's not everybody can do that.
You know, I didn't set out to try to be an example or anything like that, but if I am one in the process, well, great. Maybe that'll motivate some other people to go on and try to do this.
Yeah, it really doesn't matter how much time has passed. The emotions, as you could just see in that piece, was so strong. I know you were really good friends with Alan Kowicki. I never got to meet the man. Tell me a little bit about him.
Yeah, I mean, one, he was a well of a race car driver, but he was really ahead of his times. Mike Joyce said it. He was an engineer that was also a race car driver. He moved down from Wisconsin on a wing and a prayer, and he did it his way. He had an opportunity to drive for one of the top organizations in the sport, Junior Johnson and Associates. He turned it down. He said, I came down here to do my deal, and I'm going to do my deal. Obviously, in 1992, it worked out pretty good.
As you listen to all those guys talk, it's so hard in the moment, I think, to realize that that's going to be one of the greatest moments in NASCAR history, that championship win. And then to see the emotion from Paul Andrews 31 years later, right, to talking about that, I think it shows just how special Alan Kowicki was to all of them.
And, of course, the Polish victory lap. We still see that from time to time.
Absolutely.
It is historic, certainly. Let's head back out to the track, bring in Chris Myers. Listen, I know, Chris, the excitement is growing down there. Back to you.
All right, thank you, Shannon. And talking about some of the great memories at the track and somebody who's had a lot of opportunity here and likes his chances today, Brad Keselowski. How about a quick comes to your mind racing here at Atlanta Motor Speedway? Some thoughts?
Oh, man, this is, a track that has history back to the old days of NASCAR, Chris. And some of the races we've had here, I think there was one with Tony where you drove by me and smoked the field here. I'll never forget that one, 2011. But, the track has gone through so many different versions, from the original mile and a half that, was just a pure oval to, the version with the dog legs. And now this one, it's more like a super speedway. So you've seen all types of racing here.
Yeah, I wish you would have brought us some rules, by the way, because I'm a big fan. But,
it's coming. I'll make sure.
Obviously. But what's the strategy? What do you got to think about it? Is this truly like Daytona and Talladega, where you're worried about partnering up with the manufacturer cars, or is this more of you're just worried about your own team and your teammates?
Daytona and Talladega, Tony, have really morphed into the manufacturer race. I mean, you got, the Fords and the Chevys working together, but it's so much harder to do that here. It's two grooves, and really it's not even two grooves a lot of times. Like 3 and 4, you really want the middle of the racetrack, and if you try to get out of that, it gets really hairy. So, with the way you have to leapfrog race here, I don't think you're going to see that. What you are going to see is a lot of pushing down the front stretch, and that's when things get hairy.
All right. So where do you want to be on that? You want to be the pusher or the pushee?
I want to be like running second, Clint, at the start-finish line with a big run and somebody good behind it. I think that's kind of the unstoppable move right now at this track.
Well, certainly, we've been watching RFK. I've been talking about it the last couple of weeks. I mean, it's a noticeable change, right? This year over last, big-time difference maker in the money, in the shot. I asked you on the way over here, I asked Brad, and I want everybody to hear this. I said, when are you going to win?
I said, here. Yeah, I mean, we've got a great car. Started in front, qualified 4th. The Fords have a lot of speed at this type of track. We found a lot of things at RFK to make our cars better since last year. We don't need good luck to win today. We just need to not have any bad luck.
All right. Hey, if I recall, your 2 wins at Atlanta here, they were your first wins of those seasons, and it's kind of set the tone. So you're looking for the first win of this season.
Absolutely. We've had a great start to the season, Chris. We just haven't got the finishes. If we can get the finish here today that we deserve, we can get victory lane.
And a lot has been made about some of the penalties this week. As an owner, driver, you got Denny Hamlin involved, you got Hendrick involved. Have you thought about this? Have you checked your louvers, by the way, just to make sure?
Well, our guys have checked it. They've checked it.
Okay, good. I'm glad people are on that.
NASCAR's got a really tough job, Chris. There's a lot of great competitors in this garage, and they try to keep them in check. And every once in a while, the only way they'll listen is if you slap them. And I've been slapped. Tony, you've been slapped. Clint, we've all been slapped. But that's the only language we hear. And so, it's NASCAR's job to pick who and when to slap. And we can argue over whether it's the right time or not. But I don't envy their position of trying to keep all these drivers in this industry in line. And sometimes they got to do things that we don't always agree with.
All right. Hopefully all the parts are together. Have a good race today. And thanks for stopping by. We always like
seeing you. Good luck.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
We will continue live from Atlanta Motor Speedway. The driver introductions continuing. We're going to take a look at some special fans that have bonded over NASCAR and enjoying the races. Stay tuned as we count you down to the 400-miler.
Welcome back to Race Days. We're getting closer to green flag racing in Atlanta. And listen, that guy's showing it right there. There's no doubt that the fans, they make this sport go round. And one particular group of fans came together, started a Facebook group that they titled Black NASCAR Fans. And this weekend, they are having one of their biggest meetups of the year.
I've been a race fan for over 30 years, and I love every minute of it.
I love the excitement and the adrenaline. I love it.
I've been a NASCAR fan since first grade. My parents got me into the sport.
This is my first race. I am so excited.
I'll keep the ones who want me. Won't never let me go.
I'm an adventurous person, and we did own a few sports cars in my family. I just got mesmerized with it. This is more exciting than any other sport that I can think of.
Man, it's the vibe you get, man. Just waking up, you're going to be out all day. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be fast. Oh, man, when the engines start roaring and stuff, you're like...
Been a NASCAR fan for years, didn't always understand it until I joined a Facebook group that has been teaching me. That's why it's so important to connect with people.
It's a good chance to everybody to coincide with one another and, break bread, which is really great.
I
I've never seen these people in my life. And we were like, hey, cousin, can I hug you?
I met some of my closest friends through the internet. Finally, for the first time, I don't feel alone watching the sport.
Everybody can get involved with this sport.
So I'm still new to all of this, but like when we talk about representation matters and seeing people who look like you embracing the sport, that's where I connect.
People who look like us are everywhere. We make assumptions about where we belong, but these spaces are for everybody.
Finally taking down those barriers, one step at a time. And NASCAR is a sport for everybody, man. Everybody's welcome, and I'm seeing a lot of changes.
If you expose people to something in the way that they can enjoy it, that's going to win every time.
Yes, we exist.
Yes, we exist.
Yes, we exist.
Yes, we do exist.
There is a party in the ATL today. Fans out there, 75 years of NASCAR, celebrating it all year long. Busy but chilly day in Atlanta, about 40 degrees. Ludacris, man, he lied. He said it was hot. Let's head trackside for some driver interviews. Jamie Little, who have you caught up with?
Hey, Shannon, Christopher Bell, and he had an issue in qualifying yesterday, went around, so he'll start in the back, and I know you say this style of racing is perplexing. Is that how you feel about starting in the back here at Atlanta?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I picked a pretty good track to go to the back because this, speedway racing, you get track position flips so easily, and if your stuff's driving good, especially here at the start of the race, I think you're able to move your way up pretty quickly. At least we were last year, so going to be interesting. The track is just extremely uneasy, and there's a huge lack of grip whenever the tires are cold, and especially whenever the track doesn't have any rubbers. So I think what we see at the beginning of the race will be completely different than what we have at the end of the race. So just got to get our DeWalt Camry to see the checkered flag.
All right, good luck to you. Regan?
Well, Jamie, Austin Dillon starts 13th today. You're always so good at these drafting racetracks. But after you saw what happened yesterday in those two races, what are you expecting today?
Hopefully not more of that. We want less cautions, more green flag races. I like to say I'm good at speedways, but Atlanta, the speedway, has not been great to me. So we'll do what we can with our Andy's frozen custard Chevy. It's a great day for custard, I'll tell you that. Go get the 3 Creed at Andy's today, and we'll hopefully put that 3 car up front by the end of this thing and make something for the day.
I don't think ice cream will thaw out today. It's cold enough still for it. Jamie?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is cold, and William Byron's been the man on a mission the last 2 weeks, getting the win, and now you come back to a place that you went to victory lane a year ago. How are you feeling about your car this time around, knowing more than you did this time a year ago?
Yeah, honestly, we don't really know a lot yet. We'll know in the first few laps here, but I feel like we brought a good plan here, similar to last year, and I feel like we've got a good package to work around. So Liberty University Chevy should be fast, and we just gotta keep it up front. It's going to be a little bit of track position, but also a lot of shuffling going on. And I think you guys are going to see a great race. So just excited to go out there and hopefully get 3 in a row.
Great race. That's all we're looking for. Regan?
Well, Kyle Buschman off to a fast start with RCR. Does that continue today here at Atlanta?
I'd like to hope so. We were really fast at Daytona, restrictor plate style race, but entirely different circumstances here this weekend at Atlanta, being a mile and a half. Still restrictor plate style, but being a mile and a half, it definitely lays a lot differently than that. So look forward to today. We'll see.
Hey, good luck. Don't miss driver intros. We don't want you to go to the back. Shannon.
No, we don't. Let the man go. All right, we're going to get some long shots for drivers who we might get to victory lane out there today. Larry, you're first.
Well, you might not look at a Daytona 500 champion as a long shot, but Austin Cindric qualified second. He did finish third in Atlanta last July. That's his only top 5 on a mile-and-a-half racetrack. He has not led a lap this year, and he has had 3 finishes outside the top 20.
I like how Larry prefaced that. You might not think a Daytona 500 champ is a long shot, and you might not think mine, who has won a Cup championship and 35 Cup races, as a long shot. But I'm going to go with the guy we just heard from, Brad Keselowski. The track is going to get, we think, a little bit slicker today. He is good at drafting, but I think he'll also be able to manage the racetrack. I think Brad Keselowski.
Like Tony, you just want some of them Hawaiian biscuits.
I would like some of those, yeah, absolutely.
Listen, he's also really good at Talladega, isn't he? Really good at Talladega. We can get some rolls. Let's go back out to Chris. We just heard these long shots. What do you guys got?
Well, we'll take a look here at the board. We always like to show the favorites first. We're going to show the long shots first according to the numbers. I know Bubba Wallace is one of those. Anybody particularly jump out at you, Clint, to give us one?
I'm going with Austin Cindric. Plus 3,000, man. starting up front, that 2-car blue oval. Fords are fast. Austin Cindric's my guy.
Hey, I got insider knowledge. Kevin Harvick likes his race car, feels like it's comfortable. I can't even believe he's on this side of the long shots, but I'll take him all day long.
I mean, Eric Almirola, 8th last summer here in Atlanta. 2 of his 3 career wins have come at super speedways. How about on the favorites board, Tony? We'll let you choose first.
I'll be honest, I like Kyle Busch. That guy has got the bit in his teeth. He's hungry. He's already had success this year, and he's comfortable, and he's going forward every race.
You literally asked the guy for Hawaiian rolls. Brad Keselowski was right next to you, and said that he's going to win the race. Did you not hear him? Brad Keselowski, my guy.
Anybody who comes by with food, Tony is going to
get excited.
Yeah, man. You're going to stop him and talk to him. All right, to the race. I want to hit 3 specific topics here. Let's start with drafting partners. You assume with the Fords are in good shape, but not so automatic.
Well, here's the thing. Forget partners. It gets to the end of this race. We already said very tight confines on a 1.5-mile track. What if I can't find that dancing partner? I'm not so sure that you can rely on dancing partners at this racetrack here today.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it's as easy to get organized as it is at Daytona and Talladega. I think this is kind of you have to call audibles. You have to take chances when those opportunities present themselves.
Handling always important. Why is it such a factor, a difference maker here?
Because the track's tighter. I mean, it's 1.5 miles versus 2.5 miles and 2.66 miles at Daytona and Talladega. So handling's always been a factor here in Atlanta. It gets hot in the summer. Even when cars aren't running on it, this place loses grip.
This is what I like about this conversation, Chris. Which one do you want? You want this baby to go down the straightaway fast, or you want her to handle? Gotta be one. Pick one. Trying to find that happy medium is very difficult on all these teams at a track like this. We all know that Daytona's and Talladega's are super speedways. Those things are monsters. 1.5 mile racetrack, very tight, leaning on the wheel, very tight confines, narrow racetrack. You're going to need a little bit of both.
All right, and longest pit road now, and the entrance. How does that affect things? And talk about speeding penalties on pit road. That will come into play today.
Absolutely. I mean, so much to unroll here. Double the distance of pit road that we've ever had here. It's literally double. It's almost half of the racetrack, Tony. Navigating around those new waters, that's going to be tricky for these drivers.
Yeah, and the thing that we always see with these drivers is they push the envelope, they push the edge. They do not want to give up time on the entry and exit of pit road. You make a mistake today, it's probably going to cost you 2 laps. So you got to have risk versus reward. If you give up a little bit to make sure you're safe, you're probably in a better spot.
And sometimes crew chiefs push the rules, but more on that next time. All right, hey, Super 6, you got all the information. You've seen the odds. Help us out, Clint. Somebody's got to win this soon.
Guys, we got some good ones on here. Free to play. It's that simple. Go to your Fox Bet Super 6 app. Get on there. Put them picks in, baby. Come and get my cash. $10,000 on the line.
Make sure you scan that QR code and download the app. You have a chance to win $10,000. Jackpot is up big. Tony and Clint are going to head to the booth. Ryan Blaney, a good drafting super speedway driver, would love to come in here. There's Bubba Wallace. We just talked about him. We'll continue live as the driver introductions continue from Atlanta Motor Speedway. Glad you're watching NASCAR on Fox.
All right, pit road's open.
It's all about executing the pit stop here. Gotta execute.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are now witnessing Razel, the Incredible.
Pit road open this time.
Now, you've heard of pit stop, but you've never heard one like this.
3, 2, 1.
This is the pit stop sound.
Right side's on the track. 4 seconds of fuel going on the line. On the side.
Razel.
The old pit crew's hitting on all 8 cylinders, Mike.
The pit stop. The pit.
Tire. 3, 2, 1. Go, go. All the way, all the way, all the way. Go, good work, chap.
Pit stop.
And the beat goes on here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Looking live there at Richard Petty, the king. And we're getting ready for the Ambetter Health 400. Temperature in the 40s on race day. The breeze kicking up a little bit. We are brought to you by Coca-Cola Zero Sugar. On the track, driver introduction taking place behind us. Tony and Clint, before they head to the booth, they have hung around to welcome a couple of guests, members of the Atlanta Falcons at one time. Warwick Dunn, also a great Tampa Bay Buccaneer, still does a lot here in the Atlanta area. And I says, yeah, and I'm going to say, I don't want to give Arthur Smith's job away here, but I think the starting quarterback for the Atlanta Falcons, Desmond Ridder, who got 4 games in last year, proved himself as we look forward to things ahead. You've both been to some NASCAR races before, related to what you do professionally in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, it's all a team sport. You know, you look around, you see the drivers, and then you see their pit crew. You know, they all got to work efficiently, all have to work within each other, and that's what we do on the football field. You know, it's a team sport. It takes more than one guy, and, you know, just working as a team to, you know, achieve a goal.
Yeah, and by the way, how tall is he? Makes us look like
he makes me look like a midget. I'm just saying, he's tall.
Yeah, you played a lot of years in the NFL, and it took a lot of tough hits. I imagine if you've been in a race car before, you can imagine what they go through.
Well, I can only imagine, but it also, like Desmond said, it's a team sport, and they have to rely on everyone else to do their job. So I think those guys, they really have to focus, understand, you know, the possibilities of what can happen when they're going around in the car. So it's a lot of things that go into it, and I tried to ask drivers earlier, like, what are you thinking about? I mean, do you have a strategy? And everybody has a strategy of how they want to approach the race and hopefully get victory at the end.
You know, one of the biggest parts of the equation and what makes good success on our racetrack is what happens on pit road. And anytime, Chris, we get a chance to have athletes like your guys on the set or at the racetrack, I love to ask you guys, when you watch a pit stop, I mean, we're talking 10 seconds, 4 tires, fill this baby full of fuel, maybe a wedge adjustment. You know, watching what these guys do, the athleticism within the pit crews, I can't wait to see you guys do that. I'm telling you right now, you're a tire changer, baby. We're going to have to put some pounds on you, boy, but I think you could be a jack guy.
He does a lot of work. Habitat for Humanity's built homes for single parents over the years, which is great work. Keep that up.
Cool.
But Tony had a question about Arthur, your owner.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are talking about the teams and the drivers. Don't forget there's great owners here, and I got to work with the guy that is your great owner with Arthur Blank. What's he like to work with? I know he was great for our race team.
Yeah, I'll just speak from, you know, my previous experience this past year. You know, Mr. Blank's a great guy. He's in the locker room. He's hands-on with the guy, and he's personable. You know, he's going to come up to you, ask you how your day is going, make sure you and your family's doing well. And, you know, he's just a guy that cares for every single person, you know, not only that's playing on the field, but that has anything to do with the Atlanta Falcons.
Well, he's my partner, so I'm a limited partner of the Falcons. So, I mean, Mr. Blank cares about people. He cares about his players. He cares about the community. And I think he just saw me as an individual that he wanted to give an opportunity to become a limited partner. So I'm thankful for that, but I also understand the impact that he wants in the community of Atlanta. He does a lot in the community. I don't think he gets enough recognition for that as well.
Yeah, he would love to see, you know, Falcon highlights in the playoffs. We love to show the NFL on Fox. But Clint does a thing here called Put It Out. It's some unusual highlights from NASCAR in and around racing. So we want you to hang with us and watch before they have to head up to the booth. Clint, you ready to go through this?
Yes, let's do it. Here we go.
Let's give it a shot.
Man, we got some good ones. Put It Out is back, ladies and gentlemen. Get that caution flag out. Seen a lot of Curtis Turner, 1967. Unbelievably flipping end over end, side by side, barrel rolling. I think he's still rolling, boys. Still to today. Right there, guys. It happened right there. Unbelievable. Put it out moment in the history of our sport. And then this one, 2010, Carl Edwards, Brad Keselowski that was on this flip. When I say he flipped him, I mean he flipped him, boys. Flipped him over. Look at here. Right there. You know who that guy is going, whoa, 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 where's he at? That's me trying to figure out where Brad Keselowski's going. Unbelievable wreck, and I mean right in my lap. Put it out. And then yesterday, the Xfinity race. They told my man to park it. You know where he did? He parked it on the front stretch and said, peace out, fellas. I'm out of here.
I don't care. What's he going to do? Find me? Can't afford to pay it.
This is the best line of the whole day. What are they going to do? Find me? Can't pay it anyway. My man won the day. Put it out moment. Josh Williams, appreciate the entertainment, but unlike Denny Hamlin, I ain't paying your fine.
Yeah, Denny Hamlin offered to pay. All right, well, thanks for, usually he's a little more low-key than this. Thanks for coming by. You have a great season, okay?
Of course, thank you so much.
Enjoy the race.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Nice seeing you again.
I understand why you're the way you are. I understand that now.
Yeah, if you ever want to be an announcer, you scream a lot. All right, have fun in the booth. It's going to be a great race.
You guys being here.
Thank you. Thank you.
We'll go down the grid, and Michael Waltrip is standing by with the grid walk. Michael.
Chris, is cold, I'm telling you. Freezing. Caught up with Kevin Harvick, Piper, Keelan.
how's your boy doing in the racing series?
Well, he did fine. He did fine last night. We went to Florence, South Carolina. He finished 4th, so hopefully we can do as good today.
How about that? It's going to be fun. You just did a burnout on the big screen. You love this place. Yeah. Are you going to go Harvicken?
Well, I don't know that really matters anymore. We just need to go keep it rolling. That's the main goal today.
Good. When you race again, Keelan?
2 weeks in Italy.
Italy? I raced in Italy once. I drove a Ferrari there. That was a lot of fun. I tell you what, last week I think I pulled my groin running from car to car, and this is the grid walk, and I'm going to walk today. Eric Amarola taking a team picture. Hi, everybody. How you doing? Welcome to the grid. How you feel today? I got questions. There's so many Fords up here. Are they handling good, or they just got a lot of power? What's going on?
All the above. Doug Yates brought us some serious horsepower here to Atlanta, and all of our cars drive good. I saw a lot of cars out of shape in qualifying, but it seemed like all the Fords drive really good. So hopefully that means we're going to have a good day today. But it is freezing, Michael.
Oh, no kidding.
Don't interrupt another photo again.
That's my fault. I'm not going to be invited back to his team. Hey, Blaney. How you doing, buddy? All over town. I see your face, your car, body armor's everywhere.
Yeah, it's awesome, isn't it? We got the new Sport Water car with body armor, and looks great. They look even better in Victory Lane, so we'll see. I've never been on a billboard before, too, so that was kind of cool.
I thought it was pretty cool, too. I'm slower today, not talking as fast. My face is about froze up on me.
Well, I'll tell you what. The ride around in the back of the pickup truck after intros, that was probably the coldest I've ever been in my whole life. So I'm really excited to get my race car and warm up a little bit.
Right on. We'll be back to Atlanta Motor Speedway. We're all freezing our butts off. Woo.
Live here in Atlanta, aerial coverage provided by Goodyear, powering every mile and every moment on NASCAR's road to victory. Goodyear, more driven.
All it took was 6 simple words for the rap game. And music as we knew it changed. Just 6 words. The South got something to say. The South got something to say. The South has always had its own groove. Always found its own rhythm. Our very own noise, organized or not. As a part of the Dungeon family, we not only continue the tradition, we made it ours. Andre 3000, Big Boy called themselves Outcasts because that's who they were. And they always stayed true to who they were. It's because of that the people started to care what we had to say. We paved our own road from the Dungeon to the Grammys and everywhere in between. Today, these drivers are going to have to find their own road.
Green flag in Atlanta.
Their own groove to succeed. That's what they've done their whole careers. And how they got here is their own story. It's how NASCAR's always been. The biggest names in history of the sport were just outcasts of their own. The sport has changed the way music has. The drivers have changed the way rappers have. But the South is always going to stay the South, especially in Atlanta. And we are always going to have something more to say. Believe that.
The track is so fresh and so clean, the drivers might be yelling, hey, coming out of turn 4. Right now, our opening ceremonies.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, we ask that you please rise as you are able and remove your hats as the American Legion Post 516 Honor Guard from McDonough, Georgia, presents our nation's colors. Please remain standing as Executive Officer of the City of Refuge, Atlanta, Georgia. Bruce Deal offers today's invocation.
Father God, we thank you for this day, for your many blessings, and for the gift of life. We ask now that your hand of protection rest on every driver, pit crew member, team member, race official, and spectator. We ask these things in the name of your Son and our Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
And now here to perform our national anthem, please welcome Grammy-nominated 15-time platinum recording artist, Atlanta, Georgia's very own Blanco Brown.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early we're so proudly we hailed as the twilight's last gleaming, whose bright stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we watched, were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the
Which driver will hit the high note today? Thanks for being a part of NASCAR on Fox. Enjoy the race, everybody.
NASCAR on Fox welcomes you to the Ambetter Health 400 at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Yesterday, oh, what a show. It was a doubleheader. And in the Craftsman Truck Series, this pileup led to one of the closest finishes ever in the series. Christian Eckes from Middletown, New York, getting his second win. Well, same song, second verse in the Xfinity Series. Austin Hill going to victory lane by a margin of less than a tenth of a second after all that. And last night in the 12 hours of Sebring, on the final lap after 12 hours, the three leaders all took each other out. What in the world? So welcome to Atlanta. Mike Joy, Hall of Famer Tony Stewart, and NASCAR star Clint Boyer on a track that's been reconfigured as a super speedway. So Daytona, Talladega rules, no going below the double yellow line, that sort of thing. But here there is a sense of urgency because this track is not 2.5 or 2.66 miles around. It's only 1.5 miles. You got a mile each lap less to work with.
Urgency. Okay, where am I going, Mike? You just said it. It's shorter, 1.5 mile racetrack, tight confines, very narrow, 10 feet narrower than it used to be. So that sense of urgency becomes desperation towards the end. That's when somebody may try to go a 3-wide scenario, and then you see a lot of carnage at the end of the race, just like you saw in the truck race and the Xfinity race.
Well, before you get there, you got to have handling. You've got to figure out what line's moving the best, be there at the right time to get yourself to the front. But you got to watch pit road here. This is going to be very sketchy today. It is literally half the length of this racetrack, so mistakes can be very, very costly today. You might have to give a little bit up in time, but it's risk versus reward.
All right, coming to these stage ends, if you're not up in the top 10, if you're not in a line for stage points, where do you want to be?
Protecting yourself.
I want to be out. Find me a hole. Get me out of this thing. You don't want to be 15th to 20th because if something happens, again, tight confines of this racetrack, you're going to be in it for sure.
What a racetrack. Taking this 1.5 mile oval, now a quad oval, and turning it into a super speedway. The speeds are up, and so are the risks the drivers will take, as we saw in 2 races here yesterday. Drivers are at the ready on a chilly spring Atlanta Sunday. Let's go trackside.
And now for the most famous words in motorsports, please welcome from Prime Video's On a Wing and a Prayer, streaming everywhere April 7th, actor Jesse Metcalf and your Georgia Bulldogs.
Drivers, start your engines.
Last year here, the spring 500-miler won by William Byron, and a July 400-mile race, both with action aplenty.
There's a lot of history down here, between the trees. Back in the days of skill and space. That don't matter much now.
Here comes a pass for the lead.
It's a mile and a half of pure mayhem.
Just barely hanging on, and this might be the big one.
Here they come.
Side by side down the front straight.
Sharp banks into sudden turns. Bump drafting on a 3-wide straightaway.
You're clear.
Guts and gridlock at super speed. This might not be the track you remember, but you damn sure won't forget.
That's Atlanta, the site of today's 400-miler on a very chilly early spring day. Fords had the first 8 spots in qualifying, and Regan caught up with the pole sitter before he climbed aboard his.
Joey Logano preparing to lead the field to green today here in Atlanta. What do you have to do to make sure the 22 car has the same clear view that it has at the beginning of the race at the end?
I'm unsure, and I think that's probably how the whole field feels like right now. The cooler temperatures, it's breezy out. Obviously, we've changed a lot of things to our race cars since the last time we were here, and so it's a bit of an unknown. Like even what you need for choose rule, what we're going to need for strategy, and what this Auto Trader Mustang's going to drive like in the pack. Nobody knows, so we just got to be ready to evolve and change as we keep going.
Good luck, Joey. Thanks. Mike?
Remember, no practice, just the laps of qualifying yesterday to prepare for today's race. Let's take a look at today's starting grid, sponsored by Ambetter Health. Joey Logano on pole, his second pole of the season, and his Penske Racing teammate Austin Cindric, the Daytona 500 winner a year ago. The third Penske driver, Ryan Blaney, inside of row number 2, trying to end a long winless streak, and Brad Keselowski with a great qualifying run. Eric Almirola finished 8th here last July, and Kevin Harvick, who is the point leader. Row number 4, Chris Buescher, best finish of 23, 4th in the Daytona 500, and Chase Briscoe coming off his best finish of the season, 7th at Phoenix. Here's row 5, and the first non-Fords are Kyle Larson Chevrolet and Christopher Bell's Toyota. Here's Brad Keselowski's season, and look at this turnaround compared to last year over the first 4 races. Half again as many laps in the top 5 and triple as many laps in a top 10 position as 1 year ago, Clint.
Well, let's just go to the source, boys. Brad Keselowski, it's Boyer and the boys up in the Fox Sports booth. You got us?
Cleans it off.
May have stepped on me. I'm going to try it one more time. Brad Keselowski, it's Boyer and the boys up in the booth. You got us?
Yes, sir. What's going on?
Man, you are. This racetrack, not so hot Atlanta, but 8 very fast Fords, 8 out of the top 10 in this qualifying session. You're 4th, your teammates right behind you. What is the strategy play here? Is it a dance and partner game like we see at Daytona Talladega, or is it every man for himself?
I think you got to do whatever you can, Clint, to stay up front the whole race, but know that you're probably going to get cycled at some point with the fuel strategy, and try to avoid a green flag pit stop at all costs. You're going to lose so much time. So the best thing you do, the safest place to be is up front, but easier said than done.
All right, well, you told us all in the pre-race. It's your day, man. I think you're poised for it. Cars have been good. Good luck out there.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate you.
Well, today's race comes with another chance to win $10,000 of Clint's cash for free. It's Fox Bet Super 6. Just download the free Super 6 app on your phone and enter your 6 predictions for today's race. Download Fox Bet Super 6. Start playing for free. Well, let's get some chilly last-minute updates from Pit Road and our crew chief. Let's begin with Jamie Little.
Well, Mike, for the first time in history, Penske Racing qualified 1, 2, and 3. Austin Cindric in the 2, his best qualifying effort since October of last year. Remember, this team is very good on these drafting style of racetracks. He won the Daytona 500 last year, and I just talked to him before he got in his car, and he said, hey, this car is obviously very fast. If we can get it driving well, we are going to be dangerous. Keep your eye on the 2. Regan Smith?
Well, Jamie Little, it has been an interesting week for Hendrick Motorsports. Of course, all 4 crew chiefs on their teams have been suspended, but perhaps the most easy transition of all of them was that of the 48 car and Alex Bowman. What they had to do was call in Blake Harris's place Greg Ives, the team's former crew chief, who has been with Alex for a number of years leading up to this. An easy transition for these guys. Greg told me his job today is to simply keep things that are in place normal for Greg or for Alex in the race car, and it'll be a simple day. Otherwise, for him, the one transition is he's actually sitting on the opposite side of the pit box than what he normally would. A little bit of a different view for him, Larry Mack.
Yeah, Regan, pit road can be a difference maker every single week. It may be a strategy call like we saw at Phoenix. It may be a fast pit stop, but it might be a mistake. In the first 4 races this year, we've had 26 pit road speeding penalties. Kyle Busch alone has had 3. This is now the longest pit road on the schedule at 45 miles per hour. I think the speeding police will be in full force. And to follow up on Brad Keselowski, you make a green flag pit stop, even if you're the leader, you'll be 2 laps down.
Thanks, Larry. Yes, with the reconfiguration, NASCAR decided this year to put the commit line and the entrance in a different place. Instead of turn 4 just before the entrance to pit road where you could drop down off the banking and in with the high speeds now, you must commit and go to the apron at turn 3, adding 2,300 feet to the length of pit road. So green flag pit stop is going to take you 2 laps here.
Don't make mistakes there.
It's the only thing you can't afford to do. You get caught speeding 2 laps down, your day is all but over.
Let's talk to one more driver before we get rolling here. Tony?
We saw Christopher Bell yesterday in qualifying. He had a very eventful day, so let's bring him up here and see how he's feeling today. Spins out, turn 3, coming to the green. Didn't even get to the green flag there. Spins out. Look how rough. Look at his head in the car. And when it snapped, it was gone. Couldn't catch it. Let's give him a ring. Hey, Christopher Bell, Tony Stewart, and the guys in the booth. You got me?
He's on channel 2.
The wrong one there, Tony.
Christopher Bell, Tony Stewart, and the guys in the booth. You got us, bud?
I got you.
Hey, buddy, wild ride yesterday. Very eventful qualifying session. Looked like you were getting beat to death in the race car with the shocks. What about today? How do you rebound from this, and what's the outlook for the race?
Yeah, I'm actually feeling pretty positive about it. Yesterday